All right, everyone, let's give a big welcome to the cast of Night of the Demons. All right. Go ahead and make yourselves at home. Get nice and cozy. Got some fresh water for you. Let's turn on for you. Now these have those protectors. They shouldn't bounce too much.
Okay. All right. Just leave them on the table.
Pick them up. Do whatever you want with them. That doesn't involve throwing. Yeah.
Seriously, this is gonna take about 15 seconds. Yeah, it'd be the most annoying.
Yeah. All right.
Are you?
I live with the annoying one.
Yeah.
Oh, well. All right, so all the parents get off the hook on this.
Yeah.
But the rest of you.
All right. So if you're not familiar with Night of the Demons, which I'm sure you all are, here on the stage with me we have Amelia Kinkade. We have Nick Benson. How's everything going? How has the weekend been for you?
Well, I couldn't help but notice that you're all sitting in the back row. Now, why on earth are you doing that?
Come closer. Come on closer, all of you.
You all know we're not going to kill you, rip your faces off.
This is not that kind of party, okay?
Nobody's
Not that
going
it
to
can't be.
bite your tongue out.
It's a
and poke your
democracy.
eyes
We can
out.
vote on it.
There will be no possession.
Yeah.
Take possession.
But the night is young.
Yeah.
You are staying in our hotel. Very, very brave.
All right, so I've introduced them. Do you guys want to go ahead and just say a quick thing about you? Say hi. They know your names, obviously, your characters, all that. You have like a this is my introduction kind of deal, or no?
I'll just,
Okay, so for those of you who may not know, my name is Alvin, Alexis. I am Roger in Night of the Demons, from New York City. And yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful experience for me, making this movie, of course, back in 1987, and proud to be here still, and sharing it with new audiences, of course, and getting to know you guys. So, thank you.
I'm Nick. I'm just a special effects guy. I'm your stuff.
Yeah.
You never see me.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having us. Like, seriously, if it wasn't for all of you, we wouldn't be able to be here.
It's really important to point out that outside, all the way down there, and Amelia's here. Is there have you apologized for biting his face off? Is there still some tension?
His tongue is on his table.
Yeah, is it? He brought his tongue.
she didn't need to apologize. I paid extra.
You're off the hook for the apologies. So.
Though the real casualty, there was a casualty. And you were incredibly brave about it. So his earring got caught in my lace sleeve.
Oh.
And I completely ripped the hole out of his earlobe in that scene. And so the pain that he's in is real. It's real pain. So he was very much a method actor there. I didn't mean to do it.
It's not your fault. I blame you, but it's not your fault.
So here we are. We're streaming live on YouTube on Josh's Quarter Corner. We're streaming live on Facebook as well. We're sitting here at Ohio TerrorCon, and it's been 36 years since the movie came out. Is that about right? I'm terrible at math.
Something like that. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I was still in the womb. Now that I'm in my late 20s,
Yeah.
I was not told there would be any math in this.
Yeah,
film.
we're gonna stick with 36.
36
Okay.
since it came out.
All right.
37 since we made it.
I love it. That's perfect. That's
Okay.
why you're here. Can you believe it? Can you believe that you're out here going to conventions, you're out here meeting these fans, that people still love this movie to this day?
What's amazing is now it's the kids of the fans and the kids of the kids of the fans. I mean, the fact that every generation introduces the next generation of children. And that this has become like a Christmas movie. You know, when I was, you have certain Christmas movies that are your favorite Christmas movies. And who would ever dream that we would be one of your favorite Halloween movies? I mean, it's astonishing. It is really, really astonishing. But I think for me, it's a tribute to really simply having fun, doing the best you possibly can. And I think that's what made this movie work. We didn't have any money. So somebody had to do something, and everybody brought their creativity. And it was a group effort. It wasn't, we get all the credit as actors. The truth of the matter is, we are the creation of the special effects genius named Steve Johnson. And he had just won an Oscar for Ghostbusters. Nick was his assistant. The way the movie was edited, the music, the cinematography, the choice of set, the costumer, the set designer, every single person on it wasn't being paid well, barely at all. And we just went, hey, let's just go for it. And maybe it was because we thought no one would ever see it. It was a low budget thing. And we thought, well, we'll just go crazy because no one will ever see this. And now, if you look at films where they're under a lot of pressure, actors are under a lot of pressure. They got these massive budgets. Everybody's stressed out. They're at each other's throats. And those movies probably are not fun to make. The money, the most money I ever made as an actress was on a soap opera called The Young and the Restless. And it was not fun because the cast members did not get along. They were super competitive. Everything about it was cutthroat competitive. And I think now, if there's any advice here for artists, when you are having the time of your life creating something, whether you're writing it, you're drawing it, you're composing it, and you love what you're doing, or you're extremely emotionally involved in it, as a writer, it's what makes you laugh, what makes you angry, and what makes you cry. So great writing is great storytelling. And if you hit those three things, then the audience is going to come with you. Because when I'm writing, I'm just writing about what's important to me. Without knowing, there's no way to second guess if it's going to make you laugh, it's going to make you cry. My Aunt Rue was on a show called The Golden Girls. And I think that was the kind of thing. If you look at it now, in 30 minutes, they'll reduce you to tears and you'll laugh out loud. And it's not one or the other. They've got to have you in every arena. And sometimes very angry, controversial topics were being approached, things that really matter. They push the envelope with all sorts of things. But it's got to, I mean, I don't know why you all are still so in love with the movie. I'm just really glad that you are. I'm glad that you are. Alvin, what do you want to?
I'll just say that I come from New York City. There's a lot of theater. I've done a lot of theater, and of course, you rehearse for a couple of weeks. If you're lucky, you get 4 weeks, and then of course you do the show for maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. If it's off Broadway, if it's Broadway, they get a little bit of a longer run on that. And after the show ends, that's it. It becomes part of history. Celluloid, of course, lasts forever, and horror film seems to have even that much more of a great life. Especially the ones that you like and appeal to. So it's a wonderful community that comes together to support the artists and the people that are in the films. And that's to me what's so absolutely remarkable, is that you pass it on from generation to generation, and you come and share your love. And it's heartwarming to have people come up and say, I really enjoyed what you did. That was my favorite scene. That was my favorite film. That means so much to us as artists, because it's like, wow, we're still touching people. We did this back in 1988 or 87, and it still, has an outreach like that. So that's my assessment on it, and I'm just glad to be here and be a part of that.
What you said is absolutely correct. It's your guys providing love for us 30-some years later was unfathomable. We never thought this could be like this. So for you guys to still be around and sharing it with your children and your friends. Like, I never had a clue that it would be like that for this film or any other film I did. So, like, thank you guys for keeping this alive. It's just a beautiful thing to us to feel that from you.
Actually, yeah, I'll just add something really quick. You just said it. Thank you for, letting us feel alive. I mean, without you, none of us would be alive. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, where would I be if I was working anywhere else on the planet? Where would I be? I'd be in some weird mental box by myself, just doing whatever I had to do to get a check. And instead of that, I get to meet you people. I get to be involved in something as wonderful as this was, and it's been the dream of my entire life to have something like this. And I was really lucky in that I got it very early on. And so I never doubted that this was my place in the world. But it's because of you guys. If you guys didn't watch it, you guys didn't like it, I'd be standing at a counter at 7-Eleven right now, fighting the guy over the last donut. No, come on, it's coming home with me.
As long as no one tries to ask you if you have sour balls.
Yeah.
Somebody would.
I do.
They would ask you that a lot.
Yeah. But they're that kind of good sour, like gummies.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it wasn't like you didn't go into this expecting this huge hit. Like, how long did it take for you to realize we're onto something? Like, this is something that's being recognized.
Well, the moment it came out, we were #1 in the country for weeks. We were #1 per screen. We beat Beverly Hills Cop, I think it was. But we didn't have a big release. That's why the numbers are smaller than you think they would be. I still think they're smaller than they were, but that's a different story. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I always felt like, people liked it right off the bat. You either like it or you hate it. It's a very specific kind of film. And if you're there to see a straight up horror, well, you're not going to get that. If you're there to see a straight up comedy, you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
It's a mix. That's what
If
it is.
you're there to see a dancing musical theater movie, aside from Rocky Horror, there's some of that there for you too.
Yeah, the dance.
Did you do all the dancing?
That worked out good.
How long did it take? Let's hear about the dancing.
Yeah.
I choreographed all 3 pieces.
You did the choreography and the
That
performance.
was part of the deal.
Hell yeah,
That
that's
I
awesome.
told the director, I'll take the role if you let me choreograph it, do whatever I want.
That's awesome.
And I kind of mapped it out the night before in an apartment that was so small I couldn't really map it out. And the director, Kevin Tenney, said, because I said, follow me with a handheld, get it on first take. I cannot guarantee it's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Get it on the first take. So, I'm trained, obviously, as a classical ballerina and modern dancer. But a lot of it was my wild soul, as you can see, coming out and going crazy. And he took 2 takes. He followed me around and we got it. So the dancing for me was the culmination of being pent up as a dancer in Hollywood for so long. Because back then you might get a role as a dancer and you may dance all day and all night, and all day and all night, and all day and all night for weeks. And then the first thing to end up on the cutting room floor is the dance numbers. And the dancers work the hardest, harder than the actresses. And I needed a forum where I could really just go crazy and say, I got to get my yayas out. And if you saw that, you obviously know that. And none of you are old enough to know a movie called Hair that was a Broadway play. In the second film, that's what I was emulating. So the only thing I could think of was I'm going to get on this banquet table and just kick everything off into everybody's lap. And the punch bowl scene, that was improv. And that was Brian Trencher Smith, my favorite horror movie director. And I said, how about I just pick this up and pour it down my chest? And he said, oh, jolly good. Oh, sorry, he was British. But the dancing I loved, and I'm really glad that you loved it too.
Can I interject something too that I want to give you credit for, because if it hadn't been for you, it probably wouldn't have happened. How many of you know Bauhaus, the band? How many of you like that song She Danced To?
Oh, yeah.
We would have never had that song had it not been for Amelia. She's the one that got that song for us.
My best friend at the time was a real punk rocker. I was a wannabe punk rocker. We had the pink and the green spray in our crew cuts. This was a real punk rocker. And she said, you got to get this song. Well, the band was huge. All right. And the band does not ever own anything. When you want to go for a song, RCA or Sony or MGM, they own it. And this was before email. I hand wrote a letter to Peter Murphy, begging, saying, this is why I have to have, this is why we have to have it. And he let me have it. He got the rights to that song. I mean, that's impossible. That would be like you saying, oh, I want this Aerosmith song, or I want this AC/DC song. Well, the band doesn't even own it. So thank you for that. And about the way you cannot second guess the end result of anything you create as an artist. It's the kiss of death. If you think, oh, this is going to be great and this is going to be successful, and they do that with movies now. They're putting all this money into some horrible remake or horrible schlock because they think they're going to make a pile of money on it, and it stinks because nobody's heart and soul is in it. There's no passion in it. There's no joy in it. There's no creativity in it. They're trying to make money. If you're creating something, you cannot have an end result. I can't write something and think, I'm going to be a bestseller. It'll be all over the world. Well, you can't be in that mind frame and be fully present with all your love creating something. And when you're fully present with all your love creating something and you just deliver it to the world, so much of this I'm seeing artists come through, artwork all the time. You can't second guess how much of it you're going to sell or who's going to like it. All you can put out there is the very best that you can do. And you put out there what you're passionate about. And the other people that are into the same things are going to find it. So there's no way to second guess how a movie's going to do. But when we got A Man's Chinese release, this was the theater where Marilyn Monroe used to walk. I mean, this was Cary Grant. This is where the real movie stars were. And we were on that red carpet at the Man Chinese Theater in Hollywood. And that was really the first big wow. But I didn't get to experience any of the success of this. What happened was that as soon as I made them, I got blacklisted as a horror movie actress, and no one would let me do anything else. So I wasn't allowed to work as an actor after that. As soon as they knew that I had that possession makeup on my reel, out. But I don't even get the audition. So there was a huge stigma against horror movie actors. And now you turn on Netflix and every other thing. I mean, almost everything, right, is supernatural, or even the Marvel comics, even Gotham. I think Gotham is borderline horror. It's so dark. But you've got all the zombies and the vampires and the demons and the orcs, and they all look alike. And I think a lot of that was based on this particular kind of possession makeup that Nick did. What do you think about that? Everything I look at everybody else's possession stuff, I go, well, that looks oddly familiar.
And I want to interject too, because if you don't know the amount of things that Nick's worked on, it's incredible. Like The Blob, he's done some Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, The Abyss, Tremors.
Wow.
Yes. With her question, like, that's right. Like, you have this big piece of work, all of this. What stands out about Night of the Demons? Like, how proud are you of that?
I'm actually really proud of it because it was the first movie that I got to do effects on. I had been with a band myself. I was one of those punk rock kids, alternative rock kid, and I had been in a band, and I wound up roommates with Steve Johnson. And all of my stupid questions to Steve about what I wanted to do on stage, he said, you know, I left Boss Film and we're going to do this movie, Night of the Demons. Why don't you just come make Rubber Monsters? That was how I got my job. So that's where it all started for me, was Night of the Demons.
And here you are now.
And here I am now because of all of you guys.
And Hal, I'm going to throw this one at you. I think that as a student, you were very memorable. Were you ever recognized in public in the most surprising way? You never expected it, and someone just came up and knew exactly who you were.
No, it's happened. You know, it's always surprising because I don't, you know, you just, in all honesty, you're just some guy who's scratching around for work 24 hours a day. When you get work, you're happy, and then you go and look for the next job. So you don't really think about that, at least in my lifestyle. I don't really think about that kind of stuff. So when I am recognized, it's always shocking, you know. But the only thing I ever really got from fame was when I lived in West Hollywood. There was a Carl's Jr. on La Brea. It was filled with horror film fans. So every time I went through, I'd get a free bag of fries. There'd always be something extra in there. They'd all be at the window, Stooges here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did get something pretty good. I'm sure 30, 40 extra pounds.
Alvin, has anybody ever been like, you're the guy that survived?
Yeah, that I was not aware of when we were making the movie. But then, you know, people started coming up to me and saying, you know, you were in that film, right? And of course, I was responding, yes, I was in that film. And they said, you survived, man, you know. And at the time, it didn't hit me, but yeah, okay, I did survive because I was not into the horror genre like the other folks were. And something even more was when they said, well, you were the hero of the film, man. So it made me think about that, and I said, wow, well, I guess I'm bringing history on both grounds right now, you know? So yeah, it was always interesting when the film came out. I remember I went to see it on 42nd Street in the Times Square area, and it was in this theater's big, huge theater, right? And, you know, there was very few people in the theater when I saw it, and it was like during a weekday. And I thought, oh, okay, well, you know, I saw the original when we had the screening in Hollywood. I came here and I saw it there. And I was like, okay, great. And so I kind of like, you know, started auditioning for other things and doing other projects. And, you know, then it came out on VHS and then DVD and stuff. More people started recognizing. And then after a while, I just kind of forgot about it because I went on to some other things. And it was a memorable experience. But in 2015 was when I got a phone call from an agent who said, are you interested in doing some conventions for the horror film that you did? And I asked him, well, what do you mean? What's that? You know, he said, oh, there's a lot of people that are interested in seeing you and getting your autograph. And of course, I could help you with that, you know, make some photos, take the images from the actual screen itself and create some photos for yourself. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And that was the beginning of it, you know, but, you know, between 1988 and before 2015, it was, you know, I wasn't even thinking about it, other than when people came up and, you know, said they saw me in the movie. So I know that there was this community of folks that really, really, you know, came out to support until that time.
Awesome. And we're going to get some questions from you guys in just a second, so prepare yourselves, all right? I want you to start thinking of some good questions. We were talking earlier, and you said something that was really interesting to me, and I'm hoping you'll share it or hit me for asking it. Either way is fine. You said that you felt the movie was like a cautionary tale.
Yeah, because I actually am the voice of reason in this movie. I didn't talk everyone into doing this. I'm the one saying we shouldn't be doing this. The house is not haunted. The house is possessed. And I'm the one leading the seance, playing myself, you know. So I'm the one who gets it to show what can happen when you're fooling around with Satanism, and you shouldn't be. So, yeah,
Has anybody ever looked at it like that? Yes, we got some yeses. I think that's amazing. It was a new thought. Like,
Did I not say we should not be doing this? The house is not haunted, the house is possessed.
And
So
then you
as
bit
soon-
my face off.
Because Linnea got it first, and then I got possessed.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But it is a what not to do tale of the party. This is something that you don't do. And I just wanted to add what Alvin said, that exact same thing happened to me. It was about 2009, maybe 2010. And I had a fan in New Jersey from Massachusetts, and he got a hold of me and he said, "Why are you not doing conventions?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You have fans out there." I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Yes, you do." I said, "No, I don't." He said, "No, you really do. You have fans out there." All right, so he was making a sculpture of me, really expensive, selling it for thousands of dollars of Angela dancing. I was like, what is this? What are you talking about? And now when we come out and we see tats, Angela tats, I was showing it, we've got Stooge tats. I think they're out. I think you're on this guy's leg. So the amount of love from the horror community, it's huge. It's huge. And see, there are probably a lot of actors who are going to do what we did and go, "No, I don't have fans out there. I made that years ago. What are you talking about?" And now we know the volume of original artwork that's coming out. And it's such an inspiration for artists. That is such an honor to be an inspiration for so many cool original art pieces.
all right, I promised we would take some questions out here. So who has a question? All right, right over here. Thanks.
First of all, I just want to thank you guys for making our childhood amazing. Nick, it was a job for you, but for us, it was an incredible movie. And I feel like, it's such a simple movie with such clear, defined rules of just like teenagers go to a house, demons haunt for one night, they can't leave. Like, it's perfect. But my question is mainly for Nick. Nick, like, you scared the shit out of us. Like, your character design is incredible, and I'm just curious where you got your inspiration, because it feels reminiscent of things before, but completely unique. So I'm just wondering, how did you land on that? Because kudos, man.
Well, the character designs were all Steve Johnson.
Oh, okay.
I worked for him. He oversaw everything. But yeah, I mean, doing what his vision was, and he did Fright Night. He's done so many amazing films. So like, to be even in his presence was an honor for me. And to have him as a roommate was there's a whole other ton of stories there. But worked hard and played hard. But man, I tell you, it couldn't have been a better place and better time for somebody to be that didn't ever expect to be in that place. So he just saw something in me in talent that I didn't even realize I had. I was writing music at the time, so I had no idea.
It was amazing. And then Alvin, just real quick, I know you touched on it. Sorry.
Go.
And I know you quickly touched on it, but to be a person of color in a horror movie, especially in the 80s, and to be one of the only survivors, like you said, the hero ultimately. Like, I feel like you had the most dramatic arc where you started out as kind of the coward, but ultimately the hero at the end, the surprise where you grab Judy's hand and pull her over. Did you have any sense of what that would mean, at that time or in the future, or was it just another job?
No, I was not aware of how significant that would become. Because at the time I was doing it, I was just pretty much, following what the script was. And I was not into the horror films like other people were. So I didn't realize, I knew that, the black guy usually doesn't survive. But it just didn't hit me how serious that was. So, I was glad that I was able to later find out that this was, very significant in that regard, because I think it changed a lot of perspective. And when I look at some of the films that are coming out today, you know, you see all these new filmmakers. And I think in some ways, you know, this film was the inspiration for that. And that's a good thing, because now there are a lot more filmmakers, you know, that are you know, challenging what was the norm and going against it or going forward with something different. And that's where I give credit to Joe Augustine, because he didn't go with the convention. He said, I'm going to go in another direction with this. And it just was like, wow. And people were like blown away, you know, because, you know, there's always someone who comes along and just changes up the script. And Joe did that. And he had the foresight. So I think that's to his credit. So yeah, I'm glad I was a part of that.
Amazing. Thank you.
Excellent question. Thank you. Anybody else? Who's got a question? All right.
So you said Rue McClanahan is your aunt. She is my favorite Golden Girl off the bunch there. But did your Aunt Rue ever watch Night of the Demons and talk to you after she saw it?
She came down the set. There's a picture floating around of Rue on the set. No, Rue made me take the role. I wouldn't have done it if it hadn't been for Rue. So I went to Hollywood to dance, and I didn't want to be a Hollywood dancer. I was auditioning for a concert modern company. And I was staying with Rue, and she said, maybe you're going to be an actress. I said, Rue, I don't want to be an actress. She said, you're going to be an actress. Not a chorus girl, but an actress. And this script came through, and it's very hard to know what you're looking at. And if you read this, you had to have no idea what it was going to look like. And you have got to use your imagination, but I couldn't have imagined special effects artists. I mean, you can't really. And the way the script was written, it would say, Angela is now possessed. Well, what does that mean? You know, and for every actor, possessed, we had to come up with what that means for us and how to play that. But Rue is the reason that I took the role. She said it's a lead, it's the villain. The villain's always the best role, and you're taking it. So she's the reason, yeah. And I like the comedy in it. She loved the comedy also, obviously. And she also could do a lot more than that. She was an actual real actress. She was a theater actress. She was a Broadway actress. And yes, I'm going to blame it on you, really.
And I'm going to add here, my wife stopped by earlier, and she was walking around the convention, and she saw you, and she's like, I know who that is. And she's like, no, Golden Girl. So you recognize you immediately from your appearance on the Golden Girls. Any other questions? Come on. All right.
So first of all, admiration, everything. Thank you so much for making this movie. When I was a kid, I was very, very poor. The one thing that we had was a VHS player. We could not afford VHSs though. So the only thing we could get were things at the library. And it just so happens one of the very first movies my dad let me pick happened to be Night of the Demon. He regretted it later after he saw, because he had never seen them before. But basically, these movies raised me. I mean, he might watch it later on his own, I don't know, but his favorite character overall was Elvira. So in watching this, you guys raised me on horror movies, and that's why I'm as weird as I am today. But I guess my question would be, did anybody have the foresight to maybe keep something? Did you got a little memento hidden at home, maybe away from the movie or the set or anything like that?
Excellent. Thank you.
Alvin, did you?
I actually do. I still have my teeth. If you come to my table, I have pictures of me because I was Angela before Angela was Angela. They did test me on me. So I still have my teeth.
There you go.
I have my shoes.
Oh. Were they your shoes?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, they weren't my shoes. Okay, I just wanted to say something about the film. During the 80s, there was a lot of people that I worked with that were dying, from AIDS, and of course in particular in the theater community, and there was a lot of people that were affected by that disease. And so, when I saw the film and I saw all these people getting possessed, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, AIDS and how that virus was being passed on, and how, it was devastating communities of color, people all over, that were, there was no cure for it. In a way, in a deep personal way, it touched me because so many people that I knew were passing on, or just very ill, and there was no cure. So I kind of felt that the film, in many ways, had an underlying message about this. I think that it was an important film in that regard, and I think it carried through. That's and maybe in some ways that's why this film is still with us to this day. Okay, that's something I just wanted to add.
Yes.
I also grew up with the film, so thank you so much for raising me. But as a fellow woman in horror, you have obviously inspired a lot of women. And I just want to know, we don't get a lot of women villains in horror films. Do you think that we need to see more of that? And if you do, what would you like to see for the future of the horror community in regards to women in horror films?
That's an interesting question. I'm thinking of my favorite Marvel characters and my favorite X-Men characters. And my favorite villainous actresses that can really do it. Like Angelina Jolie, she can do it. The Scarlet Witch, that actress? I love her. I love her. In X-Men, the one who plays Jean. So it's an interesting thing because if you go, so you're not scared. It's not scary. And to be able to find that power and the flip side of the destroyer goddess, which is what I'm all about, which is Mother Nature being able to protect herself and women being able to step up and say, I can bring the compassion and the wisdom and the love and the grace and see both people's points of view, but there has to be a kind of fire where you're able to protect somebody that you love or something that you love. In my case, it's everything from elephants to tigers and lions and great white sharks and cheetah and everything all over the planet. But when I do see it done properly, it's understated. If you know the performance I'm talking about, it was Doctor Strange. Because that's my favorite, But I love the fact that she's completely authentic. If you know the one I'm talking about, well, she wants her boys. She wants to be a mom. And so therefore she'll destroy the whole planet. Anybody who gets in her way, because she wants to be a mom. But it's the way she did it. And what I had and what I was aspiring to, especially in Demons 2 and Demons 3, was kind of this old movie star quality. This old movie star. And if you know the Joan Crawfords and the Betty Davises and they're on go, that's ridiculous. They're going to draw you in. They're not going to chase you down. So I thank you for acknowledging that quality. And there's no agenda on any of it. It's going to be women being able to find their voice and their power, and not to be scared of this part of themselves either. So somebody's going to step up and start taking care of the planet, the animals, and the kids and the environment. Who else is going to do it? It's going to be a choice few people who are doing it. And it takes a lot of ferocity. So I'm very unapologetic about this part of my work. I'm a spiritual teacher, but the destroyer goddess is our type. Because you need both.
All right, so I want to be respectful of your time. I want to be able to make sure you get back out there to meet everybody face to face. I have one question that I could have gone down a Google rabbit hole, and I chose to instead ask and hope for good results here. Night of the Demons, there was the sub-story of the old man and woman, right? They apparently hated Halloween. Where did that come from? What was, where was that concept? How was that brought into the film?
I think it was always there. I think it was there from the beginning. You know, it's kind of a horror trope that you have these prologues and epilogues that mirror but don't necessarily match what you're doing. You know? And I think that's what that was. Or somebody mentioned Tales from the Crypt that always has these little sidebars. And that's what it was. It was kind of a horror trope, and I think it's one of the best parts of the movie.
It's amazing.
I love the ending when she's just saying, happy Halloween. Oh, man. And there's a long version. I was just talking to somebody a minute ago about it. I don't know if you ever see it, but there's a long version of the neck thing. Because originally they cut it very long because they knew they'd have to edit it to get a rating, right? So they cut it extra so they'd have room. But man, it is vile. It's the worst. You're just sick to your stomach by the time it's over.
Well, Nick, you're going to,
Bubbling and churning.
that is not easy to do, to get that
It's
effect.
just blood.
Yeah.
But it was pulsing out of him.
Yeah.
A vein had been cut, and it was spewing all over the place. I mean,
Well done, Nick.
well done.
Classy.
Spraying, spewing. It's just blood.
Yeah. Amazing. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your day to come up here today and talk to us. All of you guys for being out here with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
We're going to be back at the table until 8 p.m. Please, if you haven't already gone by and said hello, do it. If you've already gone by and said hello, do it again. Thanks again for coming out. We really appreciate you being here. What? Ah, wait.
It's not supposed to feel like.
Someone doesn't mind. Would someone be able to take a picture of it? Let me stop this real quick too. Can I get a picture with you guys before you head back out?